All right, we're recording.
All right. The first Roman numeral there after the devotion is, how does small group peer supervision work? You read about the structure of a small group peer supervision in your pre-class reading. Let's review a few points and talk about why supervision is set up that way. The importance of supervision. First, as you've seen from the pre-class reading, supervision is very important to Stephen Ministry. In fact, you can't have Stephen Ministry without it. Actively participating in the supervision group is an essential part of being a Stephen minister, because Stephen ministers rely on the guidance, support of their supervision groups in order to serve their care receivers most effectively. Faithful participation in supervision is one of the commitments every Stephen minister makes when agreeing to serve. Again, think of supervision not in that bad context of the boss is coming, but in it's almost like that's your Stephen minister. The supervision group is a Stephen minister to you, to help you be able to be a Stephen minister to your care receiver.
Bottom line is we supervise each other.
Yeah, and it's not instead of one supervisor, a supervision group doesn't mean there's three of us who are going to point out all the things you're doing wrong. We meet together to encourage and supervise each other. So one day Connie will be given in depth, and we'll talk about her caring relationship and how it's going, and what we think she might be able to do differently that makes it better. Or she knows, here's an area that I need help. How could I do? And the next week it'll be Francis, and the next week it'll be Sherry or Peggy or Hilda or whoever. So it's us helping each other, not that. I mean, Sherry's work, I'm sure you have a supervisor, or you are the supervisor of somebody else. And so it's different. This supervision is a good thing here. Take a moment to read, and Sherry, if you will, focus note 1.
Oh, on page 4.
Loud enough so that the crew behind you can hear you.
Okay. The goal of Stephen Minister supervision. The goal of a Stephen Minister supervision is for Stephen ministers to help one another to provide the best care possible for their care receivers.
All right. I want to point out 2 important elements of this goal. First, it emphasizes peer supervision. You supervise each other, and Stephen ministers helping one another. The supervision is help, and it is one to the other. A relationship that I think Sandra talked about yesterday. It's back and forth. It's us helping each other, whereas your relationship with your care receiver is more you helping them. In supervision, it works both ways. Stephen Ministry supervision is not one person supervising everyone else. It's a group of fellow caregivers working together to provide oversight for one another. All right, second, supervision takes place for the benefit of the care receiver. So we're doing this so your care receiver gets better care. As a Stephen minister, you will personally benefit from the support and encouragement you receive from the others in your group. But the purpose of supervision is ultimately to empower you to provide the best care that you can for your care receiver. So that's our whole purpose in supervision, is to help you be better at what you do. I mean, after you've been trained and all that, it's like teacher going to school and they get their certificate and they're good to go. They're certified, they're qualified, they're highly qualified. We had to be at the end of my career. And so you put them in a classroom. Well, I hope that after 2 or 3 years, they're better than they were that first day they walked in the classroom. And so, and if I were a principal again, I would have peer supervision groups. I mean, I would still have to be their supervisor as a principal, but I would have some of their peers and let that group meet together just like we're going to do and help each other. I mean, so you have one English teacher saying, oh, now I'm really having trouble getting them to understand subject verb agreement or whatever it might be. Well, that's a trick I learned. You might try it. And so you help each other grow. That's what this supervision is about. Just like Stephen Minister, caring relationship is a formal, structured relationship. Small peer supervision is formal, structured process. Supervision is a formal, structured process. If we remember that, all of us, if we'll remember that it's not, boy, it's good to get together again, because it really is. It is. I always come away from our Stephen Minister supervision meetings feeling better about myself, feeling better about the ministry, feeling better about each other, because it's a great time of sharing. But that's what we have lost in the way we do it. We've lost that formal, structured part, and it needs to be that. And then after it's over, we can be friends and we can do that other. But during the process of supervision, we need to see how it's supposed to be done this morning, and we will. And then we need to emulate that as best we can. As you participate in this process, you will support one another, provide needed guidance, and hold each other accountable for the vital ministry that you do as Stephen Ministers. All right, forming supervision groups on page 408 is where we are now. As soon as you're commissioned, you'll be assigned to your first supervision group. And if we have this many, if everybody decides to still be doing this, we'll probably have 2 groups, which is great. When we first started, we had 4 or 5, and I can't remember how many, but we've all met, 25 of us, 23 of us, and had a devotion and that kind of thing. Then we separated into our groups. And when the groups got done, when Diane Hart got done praying for the pygmies in Africa,
Pray for 30 minutes.
I mean, we'd be sitting around waiting for her group to get done every time. And Eddie said one time, he said, well, when she finally gets down to praying for the pygmies in Africa, you know she's about done. but I mean, taking
Super said I was her prayer partner in prayer captain, and she would pray, and she said, it's your turn. I said, no, just keep going.
She would pray forever, wouldn't
And
she?
I mean, it never repeat herself.
I was in there too.
when we delivered communion to them, I mean, several times I just asked her to pray instead of me praying when we left, or Peggy praying, just let her pray because it was so good.
She has beautiful prayers.
But anyhow, so we may have 2 different groups, and from time to time, if we do, we'll switch so that you're not always working with the same people. That's just a good way to do things. Have fruit basket turnover every once in a while. All right, so let's talk about what happens in those small groups. Frequently, how often? I'm going to read this paragraph and then I'm going to tell you what we do. This is the St. Louis official version. Our supervision groups meet twice a month. Each supervision meeting typically lasts about 80 minutes, which gives your group time to provide in-depth help and support to 2 of your Stephen Ministers. With 5 to 7 Stephen Ministers in each group, that means each of you will receive in-depth supervision every 3 or 4 meetings or every 6 or 8 weeks. All right. At Pittsburgh, I don't know, maybe on Thursday or Friday, later in the week, I had a conversation with this guy who was there to become a Stephen leader. He had been a Stephen minister, and that's normally how it's done. In our case, we became Stephen ministers, Stephen leaders all at the same time. But I was talking to him, and he said, we just meet once a month, and that seems to be plenty. And so I came home from Pittsburgh. The only rule that I think that we violate, well, we first started out, we were doing every 2 weeks, but we soon realized that, I mean, now you're doing care receiver an hour a week, and then an hour every other week, or hour and a half of student, that was more than we needed to do. And so we meet once a month, and we meet right now on Monday mornings at 9 o'clock, the fourth Monday of each month. When we reestablish our group, we can hold the group and move that time to whatever suits us best as a group. But it could very well last 80 minutes. But this is assuming that everybody in the group of 5 or 7 or 4 has a Stephen minister. If you don't have an assignment right now, there's no need for you to do an in-depth. I mean, there's no relationship to report on. So if there's only a couple people who do, there's also no need in them doing that lengthy report every week or every other week. So sometimes it can be just checking in with everybody, making sure everything's okay, and the meeting may last 45 minutes. But when it's time to do those in-depths, they're going to take 20 minutes or 25 minutes themselves. And so that makes the meeting a little longer. And then from time to time, we'll have like an in-service. We'll do another, they're shorter unit like we do on Wednesday mornings. And one of them is like how to deal with somebody who has a real serious illness, or somebody who has somebody dying in the family, or I thought a hospital visit was one, but we really talked about hospital, and maybe more. And there's additional training on how to do supervision as well. So from time to time, we may spend our time learning some more stuff instead of just the supervision.
There's 6 different modules in the book that's set up to do after your initial training on various issues, from somebody starting a family, which we may not ever have a real need for that one. It may be one that's way on down the list, not looking on that. But experiencing divorce, long-term care, there's 6 different ones that's made to do class, and they're not as time-consuming as these modules. So, yeah, there's some that hopefully we at least get some of them.
All right. In each supervision group, each supervision group is guided by a supervision group facilitator. And that's a Stephen minister or Stephen leader who has received additional training. And there is another module that is just for that, to train Stephen ministers in how to be the facilitator of the supervision group. I think the only that Sandra and I are the only 2 who have actually done that part of it. So probably one of us will be your leader for right now, but it doesn't take long to train somebody else. Facilitators who are also Stephen ministers will receive supervision from the group for their caring relationships as well. So if I'm the facilitator and I have a care receiver, then in our group, when it's my turn to be the person reporting on my group with an in-depth report, then somebody else will be the moderator or the facilitator, and you'll see how that works on the video as well. But we meet now, like I said, on the 4th Monday in the Victory Classroom, and usually about an hour. And I can't read my own writing. Sandra and me. Okay, I already said that. All right. Now, is there... That's all you really need to know right now. What we're going to do, Doyle's going to introduce this video. I want you to pay close attention. He's going to tell you several things to look for, but this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. By the way, before I start that, I'll say that in my career with Ernst & Young, we weren't allowed to have more than 5 to 7 direct reports. But same reasoning here. And we would have our meetings, like in Detroit, I had 250 management consultants reporting to me. Well, you can't supervise 250 people. So we broke down to groups of 5 to 7 people, and we had supervisor meetings. I didn't really oversee those 5 to 7 people. They all oversaw each other, and was the referee for the supervisor meeting. And then it's exactly the way this is set up. One of the best ways to learn how supervisor works is to see it in action. And we're going to have a video, thanks to Robert and Bob staying up until midnight last night getting it working.
I was just a cheerleader.
You were just a cheerleader. Well, you kept him awake.
Amen.
The purpose of this video is to show the process of small group and peer supervision. It presents realistic examples of the kind of situation that supervisor groups encounters and how they may respond. Pay attention to the process of the supervisor group follows, as well as the content of the discussion. Take notes as to how the supervisors provide necessary support for Stephen ministers, particularly for the Stephen minister giving his or her in-depth, and how it helps ensure the best care possible for their care receivers. Look at note 2 on page 409. All right, I'm going to just give a little summary of each section on that. The beginning of the supervisor section includes an opening prayer, a time for Stephen ministers to share their contact report sheets with the supervisor. By the way, contact reports will come later. And an opportunity for them to read their check-in statements. Note that Stephen ministers who will be given an in-depth report or who are between care receivers won't read the statements in this part. The in-depth report and discussion portion of the session includes one of the Stephen ministers reading his or her in-depth report, followed by a group choosing focus questions, and then holding an in-depth discussion. We talk in greater detail about focus questions during the second part of this module. You also see how facilitators bring discussions to an end. A typical supervision meeting involves 2 in-depth reports, but the video will show only one. The end of the supervision session includes a group evaluation, assigning 2 Stephen ministers to complete an in-depth report for the next session, and finally the closing prayer. We got the video is about to show it, and you can see the focus note 2 shows exactly what it'll be doing. You might want to look at that while we're going through the video that's about to be played.
Everybody cross your fingers, your toes, and pray. Make sure that this is recording, so
Let's go ahead and get started, everyone.
is that loud enough?
It's great seeing everybody. Thanks for showing up on time. Really appreciate everyone's commitment to these supervision meetings. Jenny, I believe you had agreed to open us up in prayer this week.
Yes, I did. Let's pray. Lord, we turn to you as we begin our time with Stephen Ministry Supervision. We are thankful for the opportunity to be a part of this ministry, for our care receivers, and for the support we receive. Help us to encourage one another today and send your Holy Spirit on us. Amen.
Thanks, Jenny. So we've got Mary and Michael doing in-depths today. But as always, let's go ahead and start with our check-in statement. So if I can get everyone's contact record sheet, please. Scott, can always count on you to be on top of it.
You know it.
Thank you. All right, and then Jenny, I wanted to touch base with you real quick. Before the meeting, you were talking about it's been a couple of months since your care receiver passed away, and that you might be feeling ready for a new one.
Yes, that's right. The support from all of you has meant so much. And it has been helpful to have a couple of months to just work through things. But yeah, I'm feeling ready for a care receiver again.
Well, that's great. I'll let our Stephen leaders know after the meeting today. I know Beth was saying there's a couple people that could really use the Stephen minister right now.
Before we get started, I wanted to also add, I've really valued your sharing over the past few months. You know, the support, the encouragement, it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. I still think about what you said to us about God holding on to us while we hold on to our care receivers.
You guys.
No, but it's really been great having you as part of our supervision group, Jenny. Let's go move on with our check-in statements. And Scott, since you were so eager, we'll go ahead and start with your contact record sheet.
You know, that's what I was hoping for.
Well, everything looks good. You're so consistent meeting with your care receiver. You're there every single week.
Yeah, things have been going super well. It's always a highlight of my week to meet with them.
Awesome. Can you want to give us your check-in statement?
You bet. All right, so first, briefly identify the situation or challenge for which your care receiver needs the care of a Stephen minister. My care receiver is struggling right now due to the loss of his job. That was the reason we started meeting. And also with all the tough feelings that have come with that. And next, two, what does your care receiver currently need from your care relationship? Well, I think the big thing for him right now is that just having someone who's there to care about him and what he's going through. And also someone he can vent his feelings to that he doesn't want to burden his wife and kids with. Number three, what process goals do you have for your caring relationship at this time? Just being there for him. You know, being a consistent presence. And also listening well and validating all his feelings. What is going well in your caring relationship? So the best thing lately is that we finally got a good comfort level together. And I'm really, really happy that he's feeling comfortable enough to share his feelings and his insecurities with me. It's great. What could be going better in your caring relationship? The only thing is that he'll put himself down a lot, and I just find myself getting frustrated with that. Number six, what support, guidance, or prayer do you need from your supervision group? If you all could just pray for patience for me. Things are going great overall, but I can be tempted to try to fix my care receiver. And so I just want to make sure I don't get into that temptation. That's it.
Thanks for that great check-in statement, Scott. Here's your contact record sheet.
It sounds like you and your care receiver are really taking some big steps forward recently.
Yeah, honestly, it's been kind of amazing how it's happened. It's definitely got to work.
I can tell you staying patient can be a challenge, so I'll be praying for you.
I appreciate it.
Jasmine, let's go ahead and have you go next. Let me take a quick look at your contact record sheet. Looks good. Looks good, yeah. Can you go and give us your check-in statement?
So me and my care receiver started meeting because she needed support during her really stressful pregnancy, and we've continued meeting since her baby was born. What she needs currently, well, at first she needed someone to listen to her during the stress and loneliness she was feeling during the pregnancy and after the birth. Now, though, she's in a much better place, and I'm actually thinking we may be ready to start talking about closure. Along with that, my process goals right now are to bring up closure sometime soon and just see how she feels about it. I want to present it as a positive thing. What's going well is mostly the same as the last time we've met. She's come so far from her initial fears and stress, and it's amazing to see her doing so much better. The challenge there is she's asking a lot of questions about me and how I'm doing, and it doesn't feel like she has any other challenges that she needs my care for. So that's why I'm thinking it might be time for closure. As for support and guidance, since this is my first caring relationship, I'd appreciate some suggestions on how to bring up closure with her. Not right now, but maybe when I do my in-depth next time.
Thanks for that, Jasmine. We can definitely talk about that with you at the next meeting. Your contact record sheet.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear how your care receiver's doing. And you have come a long way since those nerves you had before your first visit.
Well, I couldn't have done it without all of you all. Wish I can go back in time and tell myself how well things would turn out so I wouldn't be so anxious.
And good job in recognizing that it might be time for closure soon, too.
Yeah. It's amazing to see God working in her life and bringing her to where she is now. So it's kind of bittersweet to think about closing the relationship, but yeah.
And honestly, Jasmine, that's a totally normal feeling to have. Now you were talking about bringing up closure with her, but there didn't seem to be a urgent need to talk about that today.
Yeah, I was thinking I could talk about it when I do my in-depth next time.
Yeah, for sure. We can definitely talk about that with you next. But let's keep going. Jenny, I'm going to have you take a look at my contact record sheet since you've also been a facilitator previously.
Okay, looks like your meetings have been running about an hour or a little over. Here it says you didn't meet in person this week, but talked on the phone.
Yeah, so my care receiver had a really bad cold and, he didn't want to get me sick. So he called me a few hours before our meeting, and we decided to meet over the phone. But we'll be back to our in-person meetings next week.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead with your check-in.
Thanks. All right. So my care receiver's situation is that he's the primary caregiver for his wife who has Alzheimer's. He puts a lot on his shoulders and is feeling really isolated. Currently, he's needing, as he has been for the past few months, someone just to listen to his frustrations and his worries and really just to share in his experiences. We have two process goals right now. One is to focus on being there for him as a Christian presence, and the other is to focus on listening and reflecting so he feels safe in sharing. What's going well is that I do think I'm succeeding in my process goals. He's told me he feels I'm his connection to the church and he's opening up more and more each visit. What could be going better is that I'm starting to feel like the boundaries in our relationship are getting a little muddled, and that's something I'll want to talk about in my next in-depth. As for help from you all, if you could just keep my care receiver in your prayers, he's really dealing with all.
Sounds like you're doing a good job, Sean. He had a close friend go through something similar, and I know that those boundaries can get a little fuzzy.
Yeah, for sure. And luckily, we haven't had a major problem in that area yet. But he's really on his own with this, and he relies on our relationship.
I remember my friend talking about how isolating it could be.
Yeah, I definitely be praying for your care receiver, Sean, and for you too.
Appreciate it. Now, I didn't hear a need to deviate from the normal rotation from Scott, Jasmine, and me. So let's go to our in-depths with Mary and Michael then. Mary, I have you scheduled as going first. You still okay with that?
Yes.
All right, great. Let me take a quick feeder contact record sheet. Yeah, everything looks great. I always appreciate your consistency. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, my care receiver's current situation is that she's dealing with some really intense and difficult feelings about her husband's death. She seemed to be doing better before, but lately her emotions have been much stronger. She's really deeply grieving. We've been meeting for about 11 months, and about half that time was when her husband was sick, and then the other half after he passed away. We meet regularly once a week, and that hasn't changed since my last in-depth. In regards to her caregiver situation, nothing has changed since my last in-depth. It's just me right now. What does your care receiver currently need from your caring relationship? What she needs in the caring relationship is for me to be there every week for her, offering support and being a safe place for her to voice her emotions. My current process goals are to be fully present when I'm with her and to listen actively, and then to also reassure her that she can grieve at her own pace, since others are kind of pressuring her to get over her grief and just move on. To do those goals, I'm praying before our meetings that I'll be with her in the moment and focus on her needs. And I also actually went back to my notes from the listening module in our training. I think Jasmine suggested that for my last in-depth, and that was really helpful too. What is going well in the caring relationship is that she does trust me, and our conversation is always very open and real. What could be going better? I'm feeling like I'm not helping her in a meaningful way. And as far as how I feel about it, the feeling that I'm not helping her is really bothering me. I feel frustrated with myself and sort of lost about what to do. And how has the care receiver responded to the ministry? Well, she's happy to see me, and she says she loves meeting, and that's been the same for a while. And I don't really think I have any boundary issues right now. Maybe I'm a little over-involved emotionally, but overall, I think we're okay. And in regards to what the focus of our caring relationship should be right now, I'm not sure. Probably processing emotions, but we've been doing that for a while, so I don't know. And that's actually where I could use your support, just figuring out what to do in the caring relationship. It's almost like an entirely new situation right now, and I want to work through the feeling that I'm not helping. And I've selected my 2 focus questions. They are set A, 10C. If your care receiver situation is unchanged, how do you feel about that? And set D, number 4, what are your thoughts and feelings about how the caring relationship is developing? And that's it.
Thanks, Mary, for that great input. So what are some initial thoughts and affirmations that you all have for Mary?
That can be a tough situation to be in when your care receiver is grieving like that. That can really be hard.
Yes, it is. And I've really been looking forward to supervision this last week because I'm not really sure what to do.
Well, I'm glad you haven't let that hold you back. I can see you've been very faithful in caring for your care receiver and in being with her consistently. So good job on that.
Thanks. I knew that even though I wasn't feeling great about things, I definitely still want to be there.
And Mary, you've been really open and honest in your in-depth reports.
Thanks. I've really been thinking this last week that I just need help in trying to figure things out. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Now, Mary, you had mentioned a couple of focus questions as possible starting points. I think you mentioned set A, 10C, and number 4 and set D. Does anyone else have any other ideas or suggestions for focus questions?
I really like that second question that Mary put out there. It seems she has a bunch of different feelings about the caring relationship. So that could be a good one to start with.
Any other ideas or suggestions?
Maybe set C, number 2. What expectations do you have for the direction of the caring relationship, and where do those expectations come from?
Yeah, how about set B, number 9? In what ways do you seek to be the caregiver and let God be the caregiver?
Yeah, I like both of those. Well, I think we've got a good group of questions to choose from. So, Mary, where would you like to start? And keep in mind, we can always come back to these other ones later.
Well, since Jenny and I both like number 4 of set D, why don't we start with that?
Yeah, sounds good. Just as a reminder, that is, what are your thoughts and feelings about how the caring relationship is developing? Mary?
Okay. Well, I think you already got this already, that I'm feeling a little lost as to where my caring relationship is going right now. And a lot of that is coming from where my care receiver is at. She's going through a lot of feelings right now, sadness, missing her husband, and being angry about a lot of things. And her feelings are so intense. And like I said, I thought she was doing a little better after her husband's death, but she's kind of going backwards.
So it seems like you're feeling a little uncertain about where she's at emotionally because she has all these different but really intense emotions. Yeah, I can definitely see why you'd be feeling that way. What else?
Well, also the support that she had from her friends at first seemed to be dropping off. And she says that people just want her to be happy again. And I feel so bad for her because she's struggling and I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I want to help. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm her Stephen minister. This is a time when she needs me the most. But I don't know what else to do.
Oh, that's tough. You really care for her, so it's hard to see her hurting.
Yeah. And I want to make a difference for her, but I don't know what to do.
Well, can you tell us more about that? What's making you feel like you're not doing anything for her?
Well, it kind of comes from our meetings where I'm sitting there and I'm listening. And of course, I'm actively listening and nodding and responding and all that. But she seems so down. And then I get frustrated so that like on the way home, I'm thinking of what else I should have done, or is there anything else I could have done to help her, or is there something else I should have said?
So what sorts of things do you think you should do instead of what you already are? Because in terms of listening and Stephen ministry skills, you seem to be doing well.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you an example. Our last meeting, my care receiver was saying that she was thinking about those last few days before her husband's death, how she wanted to tell him some things and then she never did. And she really regrets that because not only is she torn over missing her husband, she's also torn over those regrets. So we talked about that and I asked her questions about her feelings and it was good. So then as we're wrapping up the meeting, I asked her how she was feeling about all the questions we had gone over. And she brought it up again. And I thought she'd be telling me that she was feeling better, but instead she started crying. So, of course, I asked her some more questions about her feelings. I kept thinking to myself, we already went over this. Did I not do a good enough job the first time that she still needs to talk about it? But I couldn't think of anything else I could have said or done.
So it seems like you're unsure if you're caring for her well enough because she keeps coming back to these same emotions over and over again.
Yes, or that I might have even done something wrong, but I couldn't figure out what.
And that's a sense where you feel like you're not helping.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing all the things that we're trained to do, and I keep wondering why I feel like I'm coming up short for her. But yeah, I don't know. Have any of you ever had anything like this happen to you?
Oh, definitely.
I have too.
Yeah, there was one care receiver I had where it just kind of felt like we hit a wall. Like I hadn't done anything differently, but just kind of got stuck. And we eventually got through it, but it was really frustrating at the time. Jenny, Scott, maybe you could talk a little bit more about your experiences.
Well, a couple of years ago, with one of my care receivers, there was a month or two where I felt I wasn't doing anything at all to help her. And I remember thinking, I've been a Stephen minister for a while. I should have all this together, you know. But it's where my care receiver was at the time. And eventually, she worked through it.
Well, how did you help her work through it, or what did you do differently?
I didn't change much. I just kept showing up, using those Stephen ministry skills we've got. And God really worked on my care receiver through that.
And that reminds me that we're the caregivers and God is the caregiver.
Exactly.
Mary, when you were talking about wanting to do more for your care receiver, it kind of reminded me of the challenges I have wanting to fix my care receiver. And I'm not trying to say you're doing that exactly, but like Michael said, keep in mind that God is working through you, whether you see it or not.
You know, honestly, I think I was a little focused on getting results, getting her to feel better instead of the process of caring for her.
You know, I'm thinking about on training on grief. And it sounds like your care receiver might be going through that recoil phase where all the feelings are very strong. And I remember learning that it can last a while. So I can see how you have those feelings of wanting your care receiver to feel better.
I mean, my heart just breaks for her. When she tells me how much she's hurting and how much she's missing her husband. Thanks, Jenny. It is just so hard to see her go through all that. But look, guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm really okay.
No, there's no need to apologize, Mary. It's honestly beautiful how much you care for your care receiver.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. And I am okay. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, so we were talking about God being the caregiver, just the various stages of grief. Michael, did you have any thoughts on that since you kind of got us started on that track?
No, not on that. Mary, you've shared some pretty strong feelings on this. What other thoughts do you have on this?
Well, besides feeling frustrated and sad for her, I've just been sort of down after our meetings for about a month now.
That's rough. Did something in the relationship change around then? Like a month ago?
Well, I'm not for sure. I think it was around that time that she told me that her friends were coming by less to see her.
Say more about that.
Well, I remember when she told me now it's even more important that I be there for her because if she's not getting support from other people or even getting pressuring to move on, I still need to be there for her.
You know, what you just said reminded me of a focus question I was thinking about earlier. Let me find it really quick. Okay, set A, number 9. What expectations do you and the care receiver have for the caring relationship, and how might those expectations be affecting the relationship?
Yeah, Mary, what are your thoughts on that?
So my expectations for the caring relationship.
Yeah, or for yourself even.
Well, I keep thinking that I'm her Stephen minister. I want to be that rock for her as much as I can. It's kind of hard to be that for her when I show up at our meetings and she's sad, and she's still sad when I leave, and she's sad again when I return the next week.
You're reminding me of something that Jenny shared a bit ago about just showing up. That just showing up reminds me that Stephen ministry It's a ministry of presence. Your interest in her being supported, caring visits, you become that rock for her. And Christ will work through that.
Yeah, when your care receiver is down, it can be hard to feel like you're making a difference. But just being there is so important, even if you don't see a change at the time. God is working through you to bring healing to your care receiver. It just takes time.
Honestly, I think I panicked a little. When she said that she was feeling abandoned by her friends and she felt all alone, it made me think that I wasn't being a good Stephen minister, even though she definitely didn't mean anything like that. I just needed to keep doing what I was doing and trusting God in that. There's another thing I would like to get your thoughts on it, if you don't mind. My care receiver's been talking a lot about what to do with her husband's clothes. She thinks she's ready to get rid of them, and her daughter keeps telling her to. And she brought it up last week, and I said, don't worry about it. It's okay if you're not ready, grieve at your own pace, that kind of thing. But she keeps bringing it up that I don't know what else to tell her.
And that's when she feels that others want her just to move on with her grief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's right. But I would say, Mary, be careful with that wording, that phrasing, don't worry about it. I know what you're trying to say, that she doesn't need to rush herself. Mm-hmm. But with that phrasing, she's not getting the opportunity to share what she's feeling. Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's like she's hearing, don't worry about it. But inside, she's probably thinking, but I am worried about it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and it could even come across that I'm even being a little dismissive of her feelings. All right, I will look out for that. It is just this clothing thing has been so tough on her. They shared a closet together and it has some of her husband's clothes and his other things. And like I said, her daughter keeps telling her to get a move on it.
Yeah, maybe you just tell her with that kind of stuff, just getting started on it makes it easier as you go. She might just need that push to get her moving on it.
Well,
actually, sorry, definitely don't say that to your care receiver. Someone's got to keep an eye on that Scott guy. He'll try and fix anyone's problems.
I think we'll be okay. Seems like you got a good handle on him.
Well, someone's got to. Sorry, Mary, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
Maybe what your care receiver actually needs is just some more time to work through her feelings. Like you were saying earlier, just then she can go at her own pace and tackle it when she's ready.
Yeah.
So, Mary, what has your care receiver said about her feelings on clearing out her husband's things?
Well, actually, she and her daughter got together a couple weeks ago to get started on it. And my care receiver said that she started crying and then her daughter got upset.
She must have had some strong feelings about it.
Yes. I think that's why she's brought it up a lot recently.
I know back when my uncle died, my aunt really struggled with knowing when to give away his clothes. And she asked me what I thought about it, and I had no clue. But one day I was over there, and she was talking about it a little bit. So we went up to the bedroom, and she showed me the suit that he wore on their wedding day, and was talking about their wedding day, and that seemed to really help her a lot.
Lots of memories can be tied to stuff like that. I bet she has a lot of stories about her husband's things.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you asked her about the stuff her husband left behind and her feelings about that? Just to get her talking, something like, well, tell me more about what's in there.
Tell me more. That is a good question to be reminded about.
It's my favorite because it works. I'm telling you guys, it's amazing how that one question can get someone to open up.
Yeah, whenever I want to give advice on what to do, I say, tell me more. And it just gets my care receiver to just keep talking.
Oh, I have to tell you guys, remember how I've been trying to get my dad to talk to me about how he's doing with everything going on with my mom? Okay. Well, this last week, I used Tell Me More. And it was amazing how much he talked.
See, it's the best.
I should try that with my son sometimes.
All right, let's go ahead and bring it back to Mary's in death. Scott, I think you were talking about Mary talking to her care receiver about her husband's things.
Right, yeah. So if it's tell me more or a different question or, even just kind of being curious about her husband's stuff and her feelings about that, it just might need to open up a little bit.
That's probably a good idea. Like I said, I was a little caught up in getting her to feel better that I kind of forgot to ask some questions there.
I think it's good that you're reminding her that she can go at her own pace and communicating acceptance of her feelings. But I think asking questions about her clothes is a good idea too.
Yeah, I agree. Mary, what do you think about us taking a few minutes to brainstorm as a group some questions you could ask your care receiver about her husband's clothes?
That would be a great idea. I'd really appreciate that.
So what are some thoughts or questions that you all have that Mary could ask her care receiver about her husband's things?
Well, maybe you could say something like, I bet that closet's filled with memories, but then just sit back and listen. See what she says.
That's a good idea. And also to remember to ask what else to keep her talking.
That was good. What are some other ideas?
Yeah, or how about what memories do these bring back? And, or, if you know about something specific, maybe just asking about that.
Well, she did mention an old uniform of his. That would be a good thing to ask about.
And did you ask her about the day her daughter came over?
Well, we talked about it when it first happened. It probably wouldn't be a bad thing to go back to it.
Yeah, if the conversation goes that way, I think it might be good.
Jenny, you look like you were going to add something.
Oh, thanks. I was just going to suggest maybe starting off with what was his favorite shirt, just to kind of get things going.
I might try that. She misses him so much that any chance she gets to talk about him would be a good thing.
Any other ideas? All right. Thanks, everyone.
I remember a few months ago, Mary, you were talking about how your care receiver was trying to figure out if she wanted to sell her house. And you were afraid she was going to make a rash decision during her grief. But you said you started asking her questions to get her talking. And that seems to really help her figure out what she wanted to do.
Yeah. Once I got her to talk, she realized she wasn't ready to sell the house at all.
Right. It's kind of similar to how you just asked her those questions and letting her talk to those feelings.
Yeah, you just shuffle up, work the process, and give her the opportunity.
Michael, you look deep in thought. Is there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was thinking about another focus question. We were talking about it earlier, but it gets at it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, what do you got?
First question is set B. How do you see God's presence or healing power at work in your current relationship? Earlier, we were talking about the ministry of presence, and I thought it would be good to know how Mary might be seeing this.
Yeah, that seems like a good extension of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts?
Oh, God's presence. Well, before I was like, wow, look at how God is working in her life. But lately,
So thinking back to the last couple months of your caring relationship, where have you seen God at work?
well, I know she's really grateful for the meetings, as you said, the ministry of presence, allowing God to work through her during this time, even though it's not always very fast. And then we do pray a lot, and she always seems much more at peace after that. And then, even though it's hard, I think she's grieving in a very healthy way, just getting all her feelings out, sharing all of that.
Wow, that is a lot.
You know what? It is.
Yeah.
I hadn't realized how much God has been doing in the caring relationship. Even though it's been a tough time for me, it has been a time of grace for her.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You are making a difference, and God's making a difference through you.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't have that without you being her stupid minister.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
So it sounds like you're feeling a lot better about your caring relationship right now.
Yeah, I am. I don't feel as lost as I did before. And just knowing that all of you are always praying for me means a lot too.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had some excellent discussion today, and I know it's been helpful. But I think we're starting to get to the point where we need to move on to Michael's in-depth. But before we do that, Mary, could you just quickly share a little bit about what you're going to take away from today's conversation?
Sure. Well, I really do feel a whole lot better. And just the reminder that God is there in the caring relationship. I think I was so wrapped up in my own worries, I forgot about that. And Yeah, and I didn't even realize how much he has been doing in the relationship. So I'm going to try to remember that and just to be there so that God can work through me during this time and realize that it may take some time and that's okay. And then also, I really appreciate all the questions about the clothing. I definitely will put some of those to use.
Well, that's great. And Mary, just thank you for your openness and your willingness to work through the discussion today.
You did great, Mary.
You all make it so easy.
It's what we're here for. But let's go move on with Michael's in-depth. Michael, you ready?
Yes. I'm actually going to be using the Steve Liquid Food Camp in-depth report today. We've run up against some challenges, some spiritual challenges of late, and I thought it'd be good to use it.
Sounds good. Let me take a quick look at your contact record sheet. Well, thanks, Michael. And just thank you, everyone, for your excellent discussion today, particularly around Mary and Michael's in-depth. I think we did some really good work here. And as we start to wrap up, let's go ahead and do our regular evaluation sheets. And again, this is just an opportunity for you all to let the Stephen leaders and me know how supervision is going. Here are these, just take one and pass it down. Thank you. Thank you. Just a reminder, we're going to have periodic evaluations next month. And again, that just gives us an opportunity to talk as a group, how supervision the group is going. So I'll pass out those evaluation forms at our next meeting. And then when it does come time to do our periodic evaluations, it'll just take place with the in-depths. For in-depths for our next meeting, it looks like we have me and Jasmine.
Great, looking forward to it.
And then extra forms are in the back. I think that's all. So let's go and close in prayer. Scott, would you lead us?
Sure. Yep. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this time together. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for the wisdom of our fellow Stephen ministers. Strengthen us as we go out to continue our ministry to our care receivers and watch over us. May we give all the glory to you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Scott.
Two things I noticed here and there. Not once was there anything that could identify the care receiver. So confidentiality, confidentiality is really a big deal. And I don't think that's somewhere that we fail to. I don't think we're bad about that. But one thing I noticed is they do the written reports and they read from the written reports. That would save us so much time. What we do, we ramble on a little bit, and for the in-depth, rambles on a little bit longer. And it would be so much faster if we just read a written report.
I cannot imagine you rambling on.
What?
What they buy it.
What did you hear what you
I
said?
said, I cannot imagine you rambling on.
Yeah, I know it. By the way, the other thing that I noticed that I didn't put my hearing aids in before this started. We're a little bit behind time, so let's just take a 10-minute break.
You know, that lady was talking about, because she hadn't lost her husband. She hadn't lost her husband, but that's the advantage of me being that I know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so I can work around it. But I had one that had no support from family, and I had one that had all the support from family.
But
Too much.
So it was just like,
Opposite.
it was right the opposite. And, but anyway,
she said she had a family member that always showed up. She must have been spying on the place.
yeah, that was one that didn't, she wouldn't, as soon as she came in, she'd shut down. And
Yeah.
so.
That's a very good video, though. Yeah, but you know they do. Report so much faster.
Bob, do we need the slides?
I need them.
Wait a minute.
She was talking about
Census now.
I'm trying to, it took me 2 years.
My sister just now got rid of my brother.
Excuse me, it closes apart.
Yeah, that's something that.
It's been 5 years.
Everybody here,
My
I was
dad,
able to hear it, but I had to work
as soon
late.
as my mom just, my dad just, and they
Was it too soon?
it's hard.
No, my dad, I don't know, he just
He just gave away all.
gave away all the sudden. I mean, she wasn't gone long, and next thing I know, they was gonna
You know
close.
what?
When you were about 12.
And
I knew about it, but yeah, nobody said.
And you didn't go.
Yeah.
It's sort of two-sided coin there to me.
Well, I didn't think about it.
Yeah,
But I
you
knew
know,
about it.
you're in your grief and you don't think about it.
So that they can work.
It'd be good if you could.
Well, I don't.
And
You know,
he's going.
See, I would have to somebody who sends it to us, but I had your mother
I
living.
had him on the desk and thought to, you know, what was in his, I don't know, but there's a host that he.
So we got the second group, but by the time Jerry died, nobody came to me about.
They did the content regulation.
That's a failure. That's one thing about getting some more folks. When we have somebody die in our church, that ought to be one of the first things that a
Yes.
Stevens group does is go
But I don't know
talk to
why
that
they,
widow
I was telling
or
you,
widower.
nobody contacted me when Jerry passed away. Nobody from Stevens Ministry. And I knew about it, but I didn't even ask, but I
But
that was, after I got involved in it, I thought, why didn't somebody come to me?
They didn't find it.
They didn't.
I can't answer that because that's Paul's fault, I think.
It's not a problem.
Well,
Yeah, it's probably my fault. What?
Linda's, it's
Nobody
Linda's.
thinks
Remember, Linda was the lady that's supposed to go to Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody got in contact with
I
me.
tell you what bothered me, when I had 3 brain surgeries in 1 month.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I
gonna
didn't have a
be.
didn't have a Stephen ministry, that was the
Yeah.
same thing, and I thought, you know, who
K-A-R-I.
visited me more than anybody? James Fields. He was there every day. Now, he had a person in his parish that was in the next room.
Yeah.
So he didn't see, but he always came to see, and he always been significant. Well, of course, Carolyn was there, but,
But I don't know.
James Fields, the only person outside the family that visited me.
But I had a good support group with my family.
Yeah, we
I
did.
really didn't need, and they didn't push me to do nothing.
Well, I've got so many relatives. I had different relatives that lived in Birmingham that were
But I was
there.
just sitting there a while ago thinking, well, nobody came to me.
Well, Linda's
And a lot
not
of
here.
times,
Linda's not here, and Linda was the lady that's supposed to go talk to the ladies. Let's blame Linda.
That's my Linda. But
It ain't your fault, Noel.
no, not my fault.
I wasn't criticizing because I could have built, I could have said something to somebody.
Somebody should come in when I was not.
I didn't think that.
When I had those brain surgeries.
You should have had one when you were.
Linda was doing everybody. She wasn't just.
But see, with that lady, she didn't know how to handle it
Yeah,
because she'd never
maybe
been
she
there.
was at that time.
Somebody should have been assigned to me.
It's just different.
But James Field came to.
And I would be different if it weren't for it.
Because he had a church member in the
The young
next room.
child passed, well, that's what I. And can't.
But we would do.
Why should they be assigned to these green hospitals?
What?
Why should they be assigned to the green hospital?
And you should, that should have been after you went home.
Well, I had this one lady, I've had her in setbacks
And
sometimes.
while he was in
Go
the
back.
hospital and then for a short while he was at home, we were all worried that he was dying more
Start
than,
breathing again.
Yeah.
you know. Truthfully, I was more concerned about you living than being a Stevens.
That's how foggy it was at the house this morning.
Oh,
That's
my
red.
gosh.
That's
Red.
crossroads.
Oh, my.
Doctor told me I looked out and I didn't. And I told him, well, no, I can't. When the next day, Karen came in. And I told her, I says,
They don't say
It was 1 hour ago.
when I,
Sometimes they'll say, my brother.
What the hell am I going to do?
Well, I honestly, I would have thought maybe.
Okay, it's in the
after we
curve of the
started
Breakfast
getting well,
Crossroads.
If you wanted.
In front of the trailer.
Stevens.
When you're
from here, it
But
used to
men
live.
are so hard.
Nobody
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's down there in that, isn't that sharp curve?
A lot of us
It's where the,
instead of Stevens. That's right.
Army McLean
We
and
tore our heart out about what it was bothering us.
Most guys.
Yeah, that's what I thought. when I looked at her.
that's where David went this morning.
Arnie McLean.
Yeah.
He used to be a cop or
But
something.
see, I went to school with her.
With his wife.
Yeah.
She was a school teacher. I think she's at West Point.
I think, I haven't got all these.
They went to school, church
This one is just
Oh, he did. He's been there a long time. She died about 23 years ago. He would later when it's.
And I would like to.
Well, you know where they live down there?
Their situation find out about the Carrie Stevens. I got conversations that don't have lives, but they're fighting enough that they can say that they can handle that.
It's the headache.
It's the headaches that they need. So I'm not gonna say, imagine there's lines there, it's fine. Thank you very much, Bob, I appreciate it.
My thing about, my.
We can't, we're clashing.
So much. I worry that we may get to that. I mean, they need to be in assisted living yesterday. Yesterday. Well, yeah, I am.
Oh, no, you get it now, but he ain't gonna.
He won't listen, but I'm gonna say, David, you've got to do things.
I see teaching.
I think things are really good. These guys get so much. I mean, I don't know about things, but it says provide these forms and do that. Well, look, if I didn't know about it, it shouldn't be actually.
I told you.
We're supposed to know about math. And it was time for both of them.
To me, that's a thing where
It's like I still got a person that's not me.
if you feel like you don't wanna do it, then don't do it. You know, that to me,
He said, well, how soon will I
that's a personal decision, you know. If you wanna keep teaching, then that's okay with me. But if you come to me and say, Gerald, I'm done, then we're done, you know, and that's the way it is.
We're just, we're like this. I'm very controlling and I know it.
David's case.
Well, Jerry, I made him mad.
He's got
I made him very
Parkinson's. He can't talk loud enough to teach a class for a regular amount of time. He can be strong for half a sentence and then the rest of the sentence.
Because he just, and I heard him because he can share. I don't trust this never made a building in the whole class. No. Then you have something like that, and he's very successful.
Yeah, so then in your case,
You're gonna have to.
that's just personal decision.
Because I don't even know. She said, I can hardly go for things, and I said, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, well, then that's personal decision. So I don't.
Hazel's the one that's in the building. But, and he's got investments, that you don't know about.
Well, now-
So Margot was the people in town. She didn't
You know,
know.
that's like doing something.
Now, she had to go, but I don't think, I have a very
I
good
used to
friend. And
enjoy
he'd have,
doing
he
something.
bought property in Florida, he bought, he'd have money to everybody. I have a very good friend in Blaine, his husband died right
I think
about the time when we
that
moved.
was a season in my life. I don't feel comfortable to do that anymore.
Always, he had always taken care of
It's
it.
just,
She had never paid a bill.
to me, that's between you and God. You know, you take care of it.
There was nothing but some thoughts here and the time, there's things in bonds.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in a later season.
Right.
How do you know? I'm feeling you now.
And I told you in the same. It's got account numbers, it's got when it's paid, it's got when it's paid
Found out
to,
one
how
thing
I
that
pay
really
it,
works
either
better for
online,
me.
whatever. I
Will
usually.
tell Sam
And
that
I can
first.
find every.
It works out a lot
There
better.
was nothing to tell you. Because I have my mother My daddy always worked.
She never I wish they would.
She never knew. She had.
You know, but our,
But she didn't do
in our
that. So when he died,
lots of times when somebody's up
I
giving
told her,
a
I said,
talk,
you know, I want to come in and say,
if
she's
she's
in
listening to his wife, he would be having that problem.
Anyway, she said, Gilbert, if you show me how to write a check.
I really value my
She took it for
relationship.
And she took, she did everything, she was organized, my mother didn't really, I didn't. My mother just had a big.
What time is lunch?
Okay. Told me last night in a dream, right here, so it's, it should say,
We should start that before that.
not even a lot of questions about it. I said,
But they didn't want to.
the same trouble with
You go fly them, it's over.
of staff.
So there's
Had Parkinson's, couldn't all of their stairs, it was like, you know.
Bradford just coming around me. Coming around the corner.
3 foot over. So a wheelchair could be. So, you know, it's an old house.
I've done.
One of us.
Well, if they keep up with everything,
You know, and that, we need to think about stuff like that.
I'm alive. It takes time.
Walker,
I do it on
we
taxes.
don't think. You know, I go down to Dawn, and it's so hard to, they tell you, we sat in that room, without payment, but we're not gonna walk on the other side of it.
The maintenance in any place is like that. It's not the car. I used to be so fast. Art and then I did through the school. But my phone, I didn't realize it. It's on my computer. I will not use the one that's on my own. Everything's in their system.
Sit down to the last
I'm not gonna sit down till my chair gets on. I got 3 bills.
I got most pages.
I got the bill.
But we don't know.
You lied,
That's what this way.
Watered all over the bill.
We have
Once I
we
die.
have water, sewage, and sanitation, and then there's the telephone, and then there's our cell phone bill, and then there is the internet bill. That's just how utilities.
I mean, she's not
Just
only
don't-
living on social
I'm
security,
just quick.
it's more than that. And you can't live on social security.
Great job. Mine is, I pay, a lot of my payments, some of them only do on ground. There's some of mine that will only do, I got insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, they only
My
do
car
on
insurance is
ground.
off the card.
Well, mine will no longer take cards because they charge a fee for them, got to do a language now, which I would not do before, but that's the only way they'll take it now.
We got all of our homeowners insurance and car insurance, everything.
That's what men
Well,
say.
the card that we have, we just pay everything on our credit cards. For some reason, we got crossed up.
I'm thinking, I'm now thinking maybe it's.
Because now we started, you know, for plan, just leaving the bank and it's getting like 0.4440. We weren't getting it, we weren't even.
But they always
So now we have to
do something that's out of.
You let your credit card company on your Florida.
I know, it's so binding, so. Yeah. It's supposed to be stormy this afternoon.
I've been sitting on my nose.
Yeah.
He put us in a real short we're working on 89%. She's worried just about. Yeah, I told her.
And I told her, I said, it was, why she went on that bed and you used your partner. She said, Mother, we didn't. She said, I don't think we used that before. I said, no, we didn't.
Sometimes you don't have to use it. It's supposed to take it over. It's crazy. I don't think we get on the. We had a thing come out that tire old car, and somebody had got that somehow. It's the regular credit card, and then she just keep it in there. Somebody charging.
It felt good to stand up for a minute. I might read it that, my butt, chairs. It felt good to get my hearing aids in. These chairs, yeah, harder ever out there. Yeah, they did. Yeah, I bet.
Mine's hurting, and my hips hurting, my head's hurting. Yeah, my headache's come back. When this rain moisture, yeah.
That's all right. I got to figure out where we are.
This pressure's coming through and I can feel it, yeah.
Did you say something to me?
No, I just said, don't worry about it. We'll get it in a minute.
Oh, that's good looking, take it back into the first.
Just don't have none.
Yeah, and two, sometimes there's, well, that didn't go through. Right. You know, they put it back in. When that's still there, that's very suspicious. Yeah.
I knew that next goes to us after the teacher.
Oh, I had a name or state, I had a name and state when I was.
I know David, he talks about,
That's the prettiest woman I ever.
that David talks about when he had to, Trenta Height. Did y'all ever know her, Trenta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew her, yeah, you know how pretty she was.
Yeah.
The first year she taught David and them typing at Good Hope. And they talk about her all the time. She wasn't married, you know, and she's real pretty. Those boys, every time they get together, that's the one they talk about, their teacher they talk about.
I had one teacher, my English teacher. I had her 4th through the 8th and I thought, wonderful. I'm gonna get, I'll have a new English teacher when I get to high school.
Coach.
No, she moved with me, so I had her from 4th grade all the way through 12th grade. Miss Vincent, I'll never forget her. And she would.
Any of you remember the name of your school? I don't remember the name of a single teacher I had.
Lord, I remember all mine. I
can go. I don't remember the name of a single teacher.
Oh, my history teacher, Mr. Mixon. I know you can do better than that. And I looked at him. I looked at him and I said, well, I have a stepmom. I don't get to study like everybody else gets to study. I had to be in bed. I had my chores, so I get home.
Pretty sure.
At 3:30. I would have to do my chores, go cook dinner. My stepmom was home all day. I had to go cook dinner, do the dishes, get my bath, and that was at 7 o'clock. I had exactly 35 minutes to do homework. I had to be in bed at 8 o'clock. And that was until I was in high school. I'm surprised I even made it through high school. I graduated, but I'm trying to. And you know what's weird? Her dad was a preacher also. My stepmom, dad was a preacher also.
Yeah.
She was mean to us children. Oh my goodness, she was mean. But I wouldn't wish what's happening to her. I would not. But you know, she remembers my name.
Bailey.
Her daughter is taking care of her.
All right, get your attention. We need to get started back because hopefully we're going to finish this section before lunch. So we can go on with the second half after lunch. If we don't, Bob's going to throw something at me and we'll go ahead and hurry and get through it. But this session is 12.
12?
At 12. But this is basically the whole second half of this session, except for just about 10 minutes or so, which we can just move right on past it because we'll have another ending session after it. So let's just go on and get started. All right, and I don't have the slides up there to call your attention to, so we're just gonna go on here. All right, this is the steps in the supervision process. And I'm gonna give some forms out just for the moment, just for the sake of getting them out, because you're gonna be looking at them along, and I'm gonna go ahead and give them to you so I don't have to break in my train of thought to him and say. These are forms that you're gonna be using, the check-in statement and the contact sheet and in-depth reports that you're gonna be using in your supervision meetings. They're in your books. There is a copy of each one in your book, but you're gonna need to be doing one today for these. So I'm giving you all, and let me have that one back. That's some kind of the master copy. This one, I apologize. When I printed them on copied them, the lines on them are really faint, so they didn't come off good. But it's got the headers up there, which is what you need. And you kind of faintly see where there's lines that go across that you can see that you would do contact number and you list your numbers and your dates and you go right on across. And maybe you can work from the ones that's got very scant lines on them. I didn't want them to
Have a focus, the same form.
Yeah.
Filled out, so you can see how it works.
Yeah, and there is one in the back section of your book. I mean, the back of this section in your book, there is a copy of that you can look at. It's all gonna be one that you can write on, because I didn't want you to have to write on the one in your book, because you might want to use it to make your own copies at home if you're going out or anything. And I changes. Yeah. No, you will in a few minutes.
Each on the back side.
About 10 to 15 minutes. And everybody needs to have one of these.
Wing it, they will wing it.
Just pretend there's lines on it.
Say those lines.
Some of them show up better than others. You can at least read the headers, and that's the main thing you got to have.
Yeah, I don't.
My back is on, it's on the calendar.
Okay.
Just pass those down, please. And these last ones are the last form you'll need. This is when you're doing your in-depth.
You don't want us to go ahead and start.
No. Just put them where you can get to them. We're gonna get to them. I didn't want to have to stop every session and hand out some more forms, so we're gonna get those out right to begin with, and then we can just discuss them when we get to them. And for the time being, just stick them somewhere out of the way, and we'll look at them when we get to them. If I didn't get one yell, I've got some more copies. Raise your hand, do something. Okay. Should have some of this on the tables. It's playing head well enough to see. All right. Focus note 3 on page 410 in your book. List the steps in small group peer supervision, which you saw in action in the video. These steps are the same you saw in focus note 2 before the break, but in greater detail. You can take just a minute to kind of glance at that focus note 3 and just kind of look through it. Don't have to read it in real detail. Just know that it's there when you need to review, because it's basically the review of what we just saw on there. I'll give you just a minute to kind of look over it, then we'll move on.
I'm sorry, Dave, which one are we looking on?
Neither of those. It's in the book.
They're looking.
It's, yeah, we need to give them some books. You can turn around and grab mine off the table back there. Look in that bag. If it's not sitting there, it's in my bag. And some of them can look at that one.
What page of the
Page
instructions?
14 for them.
410.
No one up on sheets.
Oh,
On the instruction sheet, we're starting on page 16
Okay.
right now.
That's the,
What was on the video.
what we saw in the video.
Okay,
Okay.
now we'll talk more about each of the steps. We're on page 411 for anybody that's trying to find the page. Supervision and continuing education sections begin on time, so plan to arrive early enough to get settled before the meeting starts. You didn't come and make your comments and have time to be ready to go on time, because we really do try to start on time when we can. When you begin supervision, you'll gather in your supervision group and pray together, asking for God's guidance during your session. After prayer, the group will move directly into check-ins. Check-in involves 2 steps. First, you'll hand your contact record sheet, which you've got a copy of that, to your supervision group. That's the one that the lines didn't show up good on. To your supervision group facilitator, who will review it and give it back to you. The contact record sheet is a form where you'll keep track of every contact you have with your care receiver. Each of you received a copy of this form, and you can look at that. That number, visit number or whatever, you start with whatever numbering system you're going to keep up with. And you're going to keep up with those check-in sheets. As long as you're seeing that care receiver, you're going to continue. When you fill one sheet up, you just do another and move your numbers starting down. You don't renumber on every one of them. Keep up with the numbers and just continue with a new check-in sheet with the numbers progressing. That number is if you want to start with 1 or 2 or whatever your system is, and then you number each one through there. And then you'll do the date of the check-in, and we can talk line by line on that as we go through the filling out on it later.
Talking about the contact record.
It's the contact record sheet.
First,
It's the check-in statement is that longer one.
yeah.
This is the contact record sheet. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about.
Are you gonna talk more about it later?
Yeah, it goes into it. Mhm.
Sandra, can I ask just a quick
Sure.
question? Will any of these ladies, I don't remember any of us old timers having more than one Stephen minister person at a time. Would that ever be the case if they would have to do it?
Right now, we have one that has 2.
Okay,
It
so
just
that
worked
is
out.
possible.
It worked out that way because they started them way back when and still going, and we didn't have anybody else available.
So in that situation.
two
would they
separate
have
sheets.
One of these sheets for each of those people?
Yeah, you'll
So
need
they
one
would
of
not
those.
Ever combine on one
Do
sheet?
not combine them on one sheet. Everything for each care receiver is kept totally separate.
Okay.
And you hold on to this sheet, and there's a couple of other things that when you finish that person, they're turned in. You're really not supposed to keep records on your computer or at home
Right.
that somebody else might can see. Whatever these that you keep at home, you put somewhere say that you just, that only you see them. And they will be turned in to finalize the files
Right.
at the end of that visit. But yeah, it's possible you might have to. We try to avoid it,
Okay.
but it's possible. Notice that there isn't much room to write about each contact. The descriptions are not supposed to be lengthy or detailed, just a few words. Don't try to give a whole description of your visit, just enough to say basically why you were there. Weekly visit, or they had a problem with, just something for why you were there that day. Now look at that you don't have the back. Well, you do. Your copy in the sheet has the back of it. It's at the end of that section. It has the back of that sheet, which I did not copy it back in front.
And you're on the contact record sheet.
Contact record sheet, on the contact record sheet. This one, that's got the lines missing. On the back of it, it's got an explanation of what each of those fields is, like type of contact, whether you talk to the person in person, by phone, or in some other way, the length of the contact, where you talk 10 minutes, 15 minutes, was there an hour? It's just an estimate. If you fill out each one in each time you have a contact with the person, instead of trying to go back and fill it from memory when you're coming to supervision, really need to do them as you go. If you call them and immediately as you finish their phone call, just make a note of the phone call and how long it lasted. Or if they call you, it's much easier than trying to go back from memory and fill it out. And we really would like to have a record of how many contacts you have with them in a period. I mean, it's not like it's got a huge earthquake consequence if you don't do it, but it's really good to know how often you're in contact with the person and with how much time. And then you make your notes about the reason for the contact, anything unusual that took place during the contact, so whatever the special need was, the question. If the care receiver called you because they had a problem, just a brief note of they were had anxiety.
Phone call, you need to make, put that down.
Yes, even if it's a phone call. They contacted you, who initiated the contact, and they were having anxiety about whatever, or just want to change the time of the appointment or whatever. Just brief description of why the contact was made. Set up appointment for next visit because they had to change, whatever.
And that will help them when they get to their in-depth too.
Absolutely.
Or back, yeah.
Absolutely. It's for your benefit and for the supervision group's benefit to have that record. And if there's a change in what's going on or whatever. Yeah.
I remember us talking about this a long time ago, and I don't remember the end result. And if our care receiver is somebody to go to church with, and you see them on Sunday morning,
No, I don't have to.
that's nothing to do.
No.
But if we see them on Sunday morning and they say, "Can I talk to you a minute?" and you go out, so if the contact involves your caring relationship, you include it. But if you just sit beside them on the choir and sing and you.
Or they call you because they're head of this committee and they need your help with something.
Right. Yeah,
those kind of things you don't include. Right. It's strictly whatever relates to your interaction with them as a Stephen minister. Do not put their names on the sheet.
Right.
You can use a number if you are concerned with, you got more than one. You can use, client number 2 or client number 3.
One.
Yeah, right. Something to identify it for you. But do not put their names on the sheet because you're going to turn those in at supervision group. The facilitator is going to see it. And even the facilitator, especially if it's a member of the Stephen ministry team that's serving as facilitator for the supervision groups, they don't need to see that either. The other Stephen leaders don't need to see that either. Only referral coordinator and maybe Robert, if he's the one that's talked to him too, are going to be the only ones that know who it is. I'm not supposed to know who it is.
We have something that we violate confidentiality. Carolyn and I have care receivers, have had care receivers that I see the husband and she sees the wife. And the wife would, and Carolyn would go into a different part of the house. The person and I the man and I would stay in the near part of the house. We've done that with 2 different couples and it worked magically with both.
Yeah. And you may have that situation. And if you do,
As far as St. Louis is concerned, that's illegal.
I know, but we're a small group and we have to do what we need to do. And we're short of males and they may wind up having to take more than one. Because we don't have, right now, we don't have that many people that's asking for care receivers. But we're hoping that more people will realize that we can do something to help them. And men are the last to admit that they might need help with something.
Absolutely.
So
almost impossible.
Yeah. But we're hoping that because there's several guys that we all know of that could probably use a Stephen minister. And we're really hoping that some of the stigma from this, we can find some way to break through it. We want to be there to help whoever we can help and reach out to them if they'll let us. So, like I said, though, sometimes because of lack of numbers, we have to do things that we wouldn't normally do, just because we can't send them to somebody else. If we're going to serve them, we got to serve them the best we can. So we do what we can do. Anyway, this focus note 4 that's listed in your book shows the back of it shows the records sheet for one of the ones from the video,
how one person in the video filled out a contact record sheet, and you can take a look at that one in the book that shows you what they had done. Okay, then we're after turning the contact record sheet in, you'll share your written check-in statement, which is that second sheet that I gave you that says check-in statement. You saw in the video how each Stephen minister read a brief description of how his or her caring relationship was going. That was the check-in statement. This is a section now that does say, fill out your check-in statement form ahead of time and then read it to the group. That is, please do that. Like Dole said, we got away from that. And for a while, everybody was pretty much just given an oral check-in. They go through the questions and answer them, and it led into deep discussions and a lot more about the care receiver than we needed to know, really. But it's hard not to.
In
It takes a lot more time.
In a small church, if you say enough about them, they're gonna know who it is.
And when you do your check-in statement, you don't have to include any information about what's going on within. Keep it
Your
to
in-depth thing.
Brief, keep it brief.
the brief. It says a sentence or two, and read it when we do the check-ins. Put it enough that you can read it and give an idea of what's going on without going into details of what's going on with them. Now, if you're having issues that you want to discuss more in depth, you do that on your in-depth, or you can come to one of us before a meeting when you're not scheduled, and I say, I've got an issue, can we possibly discuss this today? Because this is concerning for me. And we'll arrange to maybe move somebody's in depth and do it later or whatever to address it. But if you can read your check-in statement, it will go much smoother and quicker, and everybody can make a comment or two, affirmation or two, and get, not that we want to hurry through it. It's that we just don't want to get bogged down in deep discussions about, well, my care receivers had a really bad week, and we discussed this and we discussed that, and sooner or later, you're going to give details that's more than you need to give, because people in a small church can figure it out really quickly when you get into much details. And we try not to do that. It's sometimes hard, even at best. We all have a good idea who it is. If you do not say a word to anybody in the group or otherwise that you think you know who it is. You kind of keep that as in your own brain. Oh, I think I may know who they're seeing, but don't make a discussion about it or say, we got to try really hard to keep that confidentiality.
What I found hard was not using their name.
Yep.
It'll slip sometimes.
That's why you read it. If you write it out first and read it, you're not likely to say their name.
I'm guilty of that, where
you won't accidentally share something that you need to leave unsaid if it's written out.
Any time in supervision that you spend trying to figure out who the person is, it's time to take it away from.
Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know.
That's right. But and it for all of us, it's better really if we don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to keep that confidentiality if we don't know. Now somebody may come up to us and say, "Oh, I so appreciate that. You've somebody so and so." If they tell you, if the care receiver tells you, keep that to yourself too. But it's their business. They can tell anybody they want to. And we've had people that told everybody they knew. And somebody, "Oh, I hear that you're working as a Stephen." Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to discuss who I may and may not be seeing. I can't confirm or deny that I'm seeing anybody. That could be true. You can't say, "No, I'm not," because that is, confirming that you're not seeing somebody. You just, anytime, the best statement is saying, "I'm so sorry, but this is all confidential and I can't really confirm or deny if I'm seeing anybody." And then move on. All right. So this, when you do it, keep it, before you read it, it keeps it brief. Check-in statements provide the group a snapshot of each caring relationship at every meeting, along with an opportunity for group members to encourage one another in their caring relationships. They also help the group decide whether a Stephen minister who is not scheduled to do an in-depth report has an urgent need for in-depth supervision. And like I said, it can usually be shifted around, so somebody will wait till the next meeting and do theirs, so you don't overload the schedule with more than a couple of in-depth reports. All right, now you've got focus note 5, that should be right after that one. Read through focus note 5 about the characteristics of an effective check-in statement. And I'm going to give you just a minute or two to look at that.
Now, what frequency will they be doing these? Weekly? Monthly?
The check-in statements are done at every meeting.
But how often do they do that?
Once a month.
Once a month, okay.
Once a month.
In-depth is.
In-depth, it's a schedule of 2 people usually do in-depths, and it rotates, so you won't do those, but depending on how many is in the group, you won't do those, but every 2 or 3 months, depending on how many.
But everybody that has a care receiver does this.
Everybody, the check-in statement and the check-in, the list there, that the contact record sheet, you do those every month.
That's what he took up.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the meeting.
And the facilitator goes over the contact record sheet, and looks at what your contacts have been, kind of scans down it to see how often you've been meeting, and just kind of, kind of goes down it and may comment, well, I see your care receiver had a issue on this date, was there any, make a statement to us about it, but basically they just look at to see how much you've been. Oh, I see you missed last week, or you missed a couple of weeks ago, you didn't see them. Was there a reason for that? Was there something going on with you or with them? But they do go the contact record sheet and the check-in statement each month. You will do one of those.
These new ladies need to know that even though they don't have a care receiver, they will be present at this meeting.
Absolutely.
Just like those people were.
Absolutely.
To support the one that does.
Absolutely. And we've been a lot of meetings. We've only had one person that actually had a care receiver.
But the other people were there.
But everybody comes to supervision meeting.
And this will come up later in the next session this afternoon, but if somebody accidentally does say something that would identify that person, everybody in that group is confident,
you have the same confidentiality agreement.
It should not go beyond that group.
No, and you don't make comments and discuss it in the group. If they accidentally say something, that tells you who it is, then the whole group don't pitch in and start making suggestions and discuss it. You just kind of act like you didn't even hear that.
That's exactly what we do.
Just act like you didn't even hear that, and you have the confidentiality swear that you're holding confidentiality. You have the same agreement to tell everything confidential.
And
even if you're not your care receiver.
If a husband and wife, it's both there, it's hard to keep that confidentiality, but it can be done.
Well, and honestly, we have been guilty, I have to say, because we got very slack in what we've been doing. It's partly my fault that we've gotten very slack about letting it evolve into a conversation about, I saw, and adding your comments about what you've noticed about them or what's going on or what you know about them. And that's not appropriate.
That's right.
It's not really appropriate to even acknowledge that you caught on to who they are.
It's not just your fault,
but you
it's
sure
all
don't.
of our fault.
It's all, well, I guess, but I'm supposed to have been keeping it on track. And I haven't done a very good job of it, honestly. We all got very slack because we've had so few care receivers over the last year or so, especially.
Yeah.
And so we focused on the 1 or 2 that did have care receivers, and
you just learn a lot about them.
yeah, you do. And but fairly early on, we've let it get to the point that it's slack enough that we've known from fairly early on who it was.
If they need to stay in practice, we can volunteer us and let them practice on us. We don't care if they know, just say, if you need people for them to practice on, if you don't have anybody, just put one of us old timers in there and let them practice on us.
Yeah, well, and we're going to be doing some continued ed type stuff too as part of these meetings, so it's going to be beneficial for everybody and not just the ones that need some help, from the group. So we're going to be changing the format a lot, but we're going to not make it something that's long and drawn out, and you just got to put in an hour there just because you got to be there. We want it to be beneficial for everybody. We want the support for the people that do have care receivers, But the ones that don't, we want it to be worth their while to be there and get something out of what we're doing, you know? Even if it's just a short session that we can do that might be reinforcing something they already know or adding to something they know. So we're going to be trying really hard to get it back on track to what it really should be. All right, so we've done the check-in statement here. You'll use the check-in statement form. We watched the check. It says the check-in statement. And it says let's watch the part of the video where Scott checks in for Sean and the facilitator. And we did all of that. Do you want to go back over it again?
Five clips that we worked on.
Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't know if those were available. That's what I didn't know. It says play clip 1 of Scott's check-in from a closer look at Stephen Ministry supervision video. It lasts about 1 minute and 50 seconds. I just didn't know if they were available or not because I didn't know what y'all finished up last night. Finally got tired and left y'all, so I didn't know how far you got.
We've got these.
Well, you might want to just sit close for a minute or two because I think we're going to be looking at several of those.
Yeah.
But this is play clip 1.
Okay. Pen, can you come put your pen in?
62150.
It says, now let's watch the part of the video where Scott checks in. First, Sean, the facilitator, will review Scott's contact record sheet, and then Scott will share his check-in statement. It's less than a couple of minutes once we get it going. I'm going to go ahead and read this, and while he's getting that up there, it's after we watch the video. It says, reading your prepared check-in statement the way Scott did is the best way to keep your check-in focused and concise.
Supervision and action, right?
It says Scott's check-in. Clip 1, Scott's check-in.
Action. Oh,
Yeah. There should be clips.
short version.
Yeah.
There should be one that says clips or.
Should be this one right here that says Scott's.
Not supervision with action. That's what it is called.
Even though it's been a tough time for me, it has been a time of grace.
Stop. What did we call it?
What'd you name it?
I think this is it.
There's a section that's just clips.
Oh.
All right, as Connie gets
That's the
started.
one we did this, that's the one we've already done, right? All right, let me get rid of it. Well, it's not permanently gone, it's just gone.
Gone from your screen.
Yes, it's just gone from the screen to what I don't have to deal with it now. File. Open a project. We want. Steps in supervision process.
That's it.
Give it a second to load.
That's clip 5. We need clip 1. Clip 1. There you go.
Scott's check-in.
That's it. That's it.
Well, everything looks good. You're so consistent meeting with your care receiver. You're there every single week.
Yeah, things have been going super well. It's always a highlight of my week to meet with them.
Awesome. Can you give us your check-in statement?
You bet. All right, so first, briefly identify the situation or challenge for which your care receiver needs the care of the Stephen Minister. My care receiver is struggling right now due to the loss of his job. That was the reason we started meeting. And also with all the tough feelings that have come with that. The next two, what does your care receiver currently need from your care relationship? Well, I think the big thing for him right now is that just having someone who's there to care about him and what he's going through. And also someone he can vent his feelings to that he doesn't want to burn his wife and kids with. Number 3, what process goals do you have for your care relationship at this time? Just being there for him. You know, being a consistent presence. and also listening well and validating all his feelings. What is going well in your caring relationship? So the best thing lately is that we finally got a good comfort level together. And I'm really, really happy that he's feeling comfortable enough to share his feelings and his insecurities with me. That's great. What could be going better in your caring relationship? The other thing is that he'll put himself down a lot, and then I just find myself getting frustrated with that. Number 6, what support, guidance, or prayer do you need from your supervision group? If you all could just pray for patience for me. Things are going great overall, but I can be tempted to try to fix my care receiver. And so I just want to make sure I don't give in to that temptation. That's it.
Thanks for that great check-in statement, Scott.
Okay. All right, we're on page 415 now. You'll use the check-in statement at each supervision meeting. You can download this form and the other forms we're talking about from the Stephen Ministers section of the Stephen Ministries website. And you'll get some information about that later. You will have access to set up an account as a Stephen Minister on their webpage, and you can go and get forms from there. It's actually got several resources for you, and that we'll get that later for you about getting set up with that. Focus note 7 and the final Q&A in your pre-class reading let you know how to access these forms. You can review these later. They'll tell you that focus note 7 tells you where the library is and that sort of thing. You can look at that a little later on. First off, it said, been guilty of this, so I'm going to tell you up front. Because I didn't ask anybody to know. You really don't want to set up an electronic form and fill them in online and type them out, which I did the first few I did, honestly, as a Stephen Minister, because I thought, oh, this makes it easier and it's easier to read. I don't write well. And it gives you opportunities to kind of use your last form and just change and add to, makes it easier. But it's really not the best idea to do that. Because first off, you got it as an electronic record on your files, for one thing. And it's not as you can't control the confidentiality of that as well. Plus you wind up doing the lazy way out and copying and pasting or using something that was there and just repeating it the next time. When you take time to think through it and handwrite the little short things and put the things in, you think about it more. And you have to write it out. So you think about where you are and not necessarily just repeating what you said the last time, which may not really be what applies the most. So they really discourage and say, don't do that. Fill them out by hand. You're writing, you're going to be the one mostly reading it. They're going to go review it but you're going to read it out loud to them. So as long as you can read your own handwriting, that's fine. And just keep it in the handwritten records that you can put in a file somewhere at home securely and not worry about them not get hold of it. All right. Your pre-class reading asks you to come up with a caring relationship to use to complete a check-in statement. Now, I'd like each of you to take about 5 minutes to prepare a check-in statement using that relationship, the one we told you to be thinking about what she's going to do. Your instructions are in focus note 8 in your book. I can read over those for those that don't have the book handy if you want me to. Work on your own using the copies of the form you received.
We're doing this check-in statement. That's what we're doing now, check-in statement.
The check-in statement, yes, ma'am.
Instructions for it.
So you want us to go ahead and
We did the contact.
Yeah, don't do the contact, just the check-in.
The check-in statement. The check-in statement is the one they're saying do right now.
That's your instructions.
You're going to say that, hold on to that for the next session, but you got about 5 minutes right now that we're going to let you get started on filling that out.
We're doing all that too.
And that's the instruction.
You're going to read this check-in statement later in the next session to the group. So make sure the caring relationship you write about is one you feel comfortable sharing with others. So go ahead and do that. minutes in. Go ahead. Another minute or so, and if you don't finish, you can always finish it. We're not gonna use it till the next session, after this, right, after the next break. It goes in, we'll be using it in the next part. I'm gonna give you just another minute to work on it, and then we'll move on.
Starting with, I didn't say her.
That's gotta be her.
Well, it would be her with me.
Yeah, gotta be her. You're doing your statement. Gotta be her.
Because it changes every time.
Yeah, it can even just be something when you made up, so it really don't matter.
Just lay that aside, man, buddy.
Pardon?
Just lay that aside.
Yep, time being, and if you haven't finished it, you can do it after lunch or after this session, before the next one. It shouldn't take more than a couple of more minutes anyway. So. Okay. Let's just hang on to those and let's move on, and so we can hopefully get this done before lunch. All right, now turn to page 416 and let's talk about the in-depth reports and discussions. The in-depth reports and discussions are the heart of the supervision session. First, the Stephen Minister shares an in-depth report about his or her caring relationship. Then the supervision group uses focus questions to look more closely at key aspects of the caring relationship, understand the caring relationship better, support and encourage the Stephen Minister, and help him or her to decide what to do next. This is for the Stephen Minister. I mean, this is our giving our support and our attention to the Stephen Minister and their needs, not their care receiver, the Stephen Minister. All right. The first thing, the first scheduled Stephen Minister reads his or her in-depth report. The process begins with the first scheduled Stephen Minister reading his or her in-depth report. Typically, 2 Stephen Ministers will receive in-depth supervision at each supervision session. So in a supervision group of 6 members meeting twice, well, we just meet once a month. You would give in-depth report about once every 3 months or so. The regular rotation may need to be adjusted occasionally to address an urgent need, but most of the time, the 2 Stephen Ministers schedule will be the ones receiving in-depth supervision, and it rotates. As with a check-in statement, an in-depth report needs to be carefully prepared in advance to be effective. You will have about 25 minutes to receive in-depth supervision for your caring relationship each time you're scheduled to share. And preparing will help you get the most out of that time. Your pre-class reading describes 2 options for preparing your in-depth report. They are listed in Focus Note 9. All right, in-depth report options, and we're mostly going to be looking at the first one, the caring relationship in-depth report, which I handed out to you. It's covered on pages 399 to 400. It looks at overall relationship, your caring relationship. The other one is a report that's called Distinctively Christian Care In-Depth Report. It looks at the spiritual aspects of the caring relationship. This one is one that you would use if you feel like they're having some problems with their faith, or you're having some problems dealing with your faith and their faith. This one has more to do with strictly the Christian aspect of the caring relationship, more so than the overall overall caring relationship. So right now, For this part, we're looking at the caring relationship in depth, which is what you have copies of. The other one is in the back side of your book with the forms too. Are in the back of that section. You can use either the caring relationship in-depth report or the distinctive Christian caring in-depth report. So let's look at them briefly. The caring relationship in-depth report is on pages 399 to 400 of your training manual. You can turn to those pages and we'll take a quick look at those. And the form, it should be there for the caring relationship, the in-depth report. That's what's shown on Focus Note 10, is that report like you have. And it's one that's been filled out. This too provides a thorough overview of the state of your caring relationship, so you and your supervision group can consider important questions about the present and future of the relationship. In the video, this is the option Mary uses when she gives her in-depth report. The distinctively Christian care in-depth report is on pages 401 to 402. Let's take a look at that now on page 401 to 402. And I don't have that in my book, so I can't go step by step on it. A key part of the goal of Stephen Ministry Supervision is to help you provide the best distinctively Christian care for your care receiver. So this report focuses on spiritual issues that may come up in your caring relationship. In the video, Michael said he had completed this form because he and his care receiver were dealing with some spiritual issues. Both in-depth report forms incorporate the questions from the check-in statement in bold-faced text. When you're scheduled to do an in-depth report, you will not complete a separate check-in statement. You will only need to complete the in-depth report form. On the months that you're doing your in-depth, you don't have to do both forms. You just do the in-depth report because it includes the check-in statement in with it. As with the check-in statement form, you can download a copy of both the caring relationship in-depth report and the distinctively Christian care in-depth report from the Stephen Ministers website. Again, write out your answers in advance so you can share them accurately and concisely while protecting confidentiality. Now let's watch the video of the in-depth report again. You can follow along the sample in-depth focus note on page 10, pages 417 to 418. Play clip 2, Mary's in-depth report from the video, a closer look at Stephen Ministry Supervision. It lasts about 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
So let's go to our in-depth with Mary and Michael then. We're gonna have you scheduled going first. You still okay with that?
Yes.
Great. Let me take a quick few contact for sheet. Yeah, everything looks great. I always appreciate your consistency. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, my care receiver's current situation is that she's dealing with some really intense and difficult feelings about her husband's death. She seemed to be doing better before, but lately her emotions have been much stronger. She's really deeply grieving. We've been meeting for about 11 months, and about half that time was when her husband was sick, and then the other half after he passed away. We meet regularly once a week, and that hasn't changed since my last in-depth. In regards to her caregiver situation, nothing has changed since my last in-depth. It's just me right now. What does your care receiver currently need from your caring relationship? What she needs in the caring relationship is for me to be there every week for her, offering support and being a safe place for her to voice her emotions. My current process goals are to be fully present when I'm with her and to listen actively, and then to also reassure her that she can grieve at her own pace, since others are kind of pressuring her to get over her grief and just move on. To do those goals, I'm praying before our meetings that I'll be with her in the moment and focus on her needs. And I also actually went back to my notes from the listening module in our training. I think Jasmine suggested that for my last in-depth, and that was really helpful too. What is going well in the caring relationship is that she does trust me, and our conversation is always very open and real. What could be going better? I'm feeling like I'm not helping her in a meaningful way. And as far as how I feel about it, the feeling that I'm not helping her is really bothering me. I feel frustrated with myself and sort of lost about what to do. And how has the care receiver responded to the ministry? Well, she's happy to see me and she says she loves meeting. And that's been the same for a while. And I don't really think I have any boundary issues right now. Maybe I'm a little over involved emotionally, but overall, I think we're okay. And in regards to what the focus of our caring relationship should be right now, I'm not sure. Probably processing emotions, but we've been doing that for a while, so I don't know. And that's actually where I could use your support, just figuring out what to do in the caring relationship. It's almost like an entirely new situation right now, and I want to work through the feeling that I'm not healthy. And I've selected my 2 focus questions. They are set A, 10C. If your care receiver situation is unchanged, how do you feel about that? And set D, number 4, what are your thoughts and feelings about how the caring relationship is developing? That's it.
Thanks, Mary, for that great input.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to work alone to write an in-depth report using your copy of the caring in relationship that you just did. Use the form I gave you and use the contact record sheet that I just gave you as the basis for that. You're going to have 10 minutes to work on this in class. The instructions are on focus note 11 on page 419. I'm going to read through those quickly for those of you that don't have something to look at, and Bob might have another book that y'all need to.
I can give it, again, they all have access.
Does everybody have something they can read?
Well, I didn't know where to look at it. So.
The focus note 11 that gives you the instructions about what to do on that. You got 10 minutes to work on it. And I'll let you know. 10 minutes are up. Minutes is up. If you didn't finish, just kind of put it aside and, you can finish working it during lunch or whatever and finish it up. It will use it after, we'll use it in the next session, which will be after lunch. So if you didn't get it done, just hang on to it and, finish it up. Didn't work on anything a little late.
Been a long time since I feel on that.
Yeah. Put your caring relationship in-depth report with the check-in statement form you prepared earlier and bring the completed vote forms with you to the afternoon session. Some of you will have a chance to share your in-depth report when we practice small group peer supervision in part 2 later this afternoon. Once the Stephen minister has shared his or her in-depth report, the group begins to explore the caring relationship in depth. During an in-depth report, when a Stephen minister openly shares thoughts, concerns, and feelings about the care receiver and caring relationship, he or she may wonder whether those thoughts and feelings are normal or okay. It's important that before jumping into discussion, members of the supervision group begin by validating and affirming what the Stephen minister has shared. Focus note 12 contains examples of the kind of validation you might offer a Stephen minister during an in-depth. Take just a minute and read those to yourself. It's examples of validation. You heard them on the video doing that after they finished their in-depth reports. Okay. The important thing with validation is to make sure the Stephen minister knows that you believe what he or she is saying about the experience and that you aren't judging him or her. Those are positive things that you notice and positive things you can say to validate them. And it's not to criticize so much as to just express your validation of their feelings. Also look for ways to affirm, compliment, and build up the Stephen minister. While doing an in-depth, Stephen ministers may be anxious and, yeah.
Play that clip 3 and we'll see their validation.
Yeah, that comes, I was just sitting there. No, it says, the important thing with validations is to make sure the Stephen minister knows that you believe what he or she is saying about the experience and that you aren't judging him or her. Let's watch some examples of validation from the demonstration video. Tip 3, validations.
And like I said, I thought she was doing a little better after her husband's death, but she's kind of going backwards.
So it seems like you're feeling a little uncertain about where she's at emotionally because she has all these different but really intense emotions. Yeah, I can definitely see why you'd be feeling that way.
Honestly, I think I was a little focused on getting results, getting her to feel better instead of the process of caring for her.
I'm thinking about training on grief. And it sounds like your care receiver might be going through that recoil phase where all the feelings are very strong. And I remember learning that it can last a while. So I can see how you have those feelings of wanting your care receiver to feel better.
Like I said, I was a little caught up in getting her to feel better that I kind of forgot to ask some questions there.
I think it's good that you're reminding her that she can go at her own pace and communicating acceptance of her feelings.
Also look for ways to affirm, compliment, and build up the Stephen minister. While doing it in depth, Stephen ministers may be anxious and wonder what others in the group will say. They may feel discouraged, wishing they'd done more for their care receiver, or thinking of mistakes that they've made in caring visits. Unpleasant experiences, frustration, and perceived inadequacies can erode self-confidence. Affirmation is one way to build your fellow Stephen ministers up so we can all continue ministering at a high level. Focus note 13 on page 420 contains examples of affirmations that you might give a Stephen minister in depth. Take just a moment to kind of read those to yourself. 20, 30 seconds so you can kind of look down those. You can always find positive things to say. Make sure your affirmation is sincere. An authentic affirmation works wonders, but an insincere comment is easy to recognize and is likely to hurt the recipient. Also, a specific affirmation is much more meaningful than a general comment. So listen carefully to the in-depth recorder and think about the specific and meaningful affirmation you can offer. Of course, affirmation is good for the person being affirmed, but it's also beneficial for the entire supervision group. It builds trust, which invites members of the group to take the risk of sharing more deeply and openly. Plus, once the Stephen minister hears what he or she has done well, it becomes easier to accept suggestions for improvement. Let's watch a couple examples of affirmations from the video.
I've really been looking forward to supervision this last week because I'm not really sure what to do.
Well, I'm glad you haven't let that hold you back. I can see you've been very faithful in caring for your care receiver and in being with her consistently. So good job on that.
Thanks. I knew that even though I wasn't feeling great about things, I definitely still want to be there.
And Mary, you've been really open and honest in your in-depth reports.
And it's just so hard to see her going through all that. Look, guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm really okay.
No, there's no need to apologize. It's honestly beautiful how much you care for your care receiver.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Even though it's been a tough time for me, it has been a time of grace for her.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You are making a difference, and God's making a difference through you.
Yeah. And she wouldn't have that without you being her Stephen minister.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
I think this video is really good. You see the way it should be done. And I just think it's really so good for all of us to have that in our mind and, to fall back on. Okay, now we're going to look at focus questions just for a few minutes. We're at letter B, focus questions. Focus questions are the primary tool that guides Stephen ministers in providing supervision for one another. The different sets of focus questions offer a variety of ways to explore the caring relationship, identify important issues for the Stephen minister, keep the discussion on track, and help the Stephen minister find the best course to take. Focus questions are such a big part of small group peer supervision that they have their own section and skill practice in part 2 of this module. You'll read about them and become familiar with them in your pre-class reading before the next class. I think you've probably already done that, but for now, it's enough to know that they're a significant part of how you'll explore a Stephen minister's caring relationship during an in-depth report. And I have to admit, one of the big mistakes we made very early on was to get away from using the focus notes and then just do our own thing and discussing it. And that leads to an endless trail that's hard to find the end of. So we're going to get back. Bob has ordered copies so that everybody has a portable copy of all the focus notes whenever those come in, so that you have them instead of having to go back to your book to look at them every time. In many ways, supervising and supporting the Stephen minister who reports in depth is like caring for a care receiver. You focus on the process and try to help the Stephen minister come up with his or own solutions, rather than telling the Stephen minister what to do. You listen and reflect thoughts and feelings. You might pray for the Stephen minister. At times, you'll share out of your own experience as a Stephen minister and suggest ideas to consider, but you're not trying to fix the Stephen minister's problems. Instead, you're providing a caring, trust-filled atmosphere where the Stephen minister can receive the support, guidance, and accountability needed to keep providing the best possible care. As a result of the supervision session, the Stephen minister will most often feel cared for and more confident as a caregiver. He or she will better understand the caring relationship, the care receiver's needs, and how to meet those needs. And very importantly, the Stephen minister will leave the supervision session with a plan for what to do next in the caring relationship. All right, this section 4 in the discussion of the caring relationship. There's only so much time in a supervision session, so it's important to end an in-depth discussion at the right time. Generally, the in-depth report and discussion for one Stephen minister will take about 25 minutes. It's important to have reasonable expectations for what you'll accomplish in that time. You won't fully address every issue that comes up or talk about all the Stephen Minister's questions. Instead, you'll focus on the one or two issues that are most important to the Stephen Minister and help him or her gain an idea of what steps to take next. The supervision group facilitator ends the discussion by helping the in-depth reporter and the rest of the group summarize what they talked about. Focus note 14 on page 421 shows several possible questions the facilitator can use to wrap up the discussion. Take just a few seconds to look at focus note 14 and look through those questions that you might be using as a facilitator to end the discussion. And you saw that they used some of these questions in the video we watched. Okay, now we'll watch again how the demonstration group brought their in-depth discussion to it. 5.
Well, I think we've had some excellent discussion today, and it's been helpful. But I think we're starting to get to the point where we need to move on to Michael's in-depth. But before we do that, Mary, could you just quickly share a little bit about what you're going to take away from today's conversation?
Sure. Well, I really do feel a whole lot better. And just the reminder that God is there in the caring relationship. I think I was so wrapped up in my own worries, I forgot about that. And and I didn't even realize how much he has been doing in the relationship. So I'm going to try to remember that and just to be there so that God can work through me during this time and realize that it may take some time. And that's okay. And then also, I really appreciate all the questions about the clothing. I definitely will put some of those to use.
Well, that's great. And Mary, just thank you for your openness and your willingness to work through the discussion today.
You did great, Mary.
You all make it so easy.
It's what we're here for.
In the video, Shalom, the supervision group facilitator, invited Mary to summarize what she had taken away from the discussion. That's one good way to handle the end of discussion. Sometimes the supervision group facilitator might offer summary ideas for the Stephen Minister or ask all group members to share their wrap-up thoughts. The facilitator can also bring the discussion to a close by asking the in-depth reporter to share what he or she will do next based on the discussion. As I mentioned earlier, typically 2 Stephen Ministers will present the in-depth report at each supervision session. So at this point, the second Stephen Minister would read his or her in-depth report, and then your group would follow the same process to provide in-depth support for that Stephen Minister. The only exception is when your group will be taking time for a more extensive periodic evaluation, which I'll cover in just a minute. At the end of each supervision session, you'll evaluate how the session went. I think this one I'm going to read through, but we're probably not going to be doing that assessment right today. I think we've got the forms, but we're not going to be handing you the forms to complete them. We're going to be adding that in at one of our regular supervision meetings. It's not going to be on our agenda for the day, but I am going to read through this section for you. You'll evaluate how the session went, your level of participation, and the effectiveness of the supervision group overall. This involves filling out one of the 2 assessment questionnaires you looked over as part of your pre-class reading. Usually, you'll fill out the form called Questions for Senior Supervision Group Evaluation, which provides a brief general assessment. Your supervision group facilitator will give you this form at the end of the meeting. Periodically, you'll do a more thorough evaluation using the form called Questions for Periodic Supervision Group Evaluation. Your supervision group facilitator will give you this form at the end of one supervision meeting, along with the regular evaluation. You'll fill out the regular form right then, like usual, and then you'll take the periodic evaluation form home and fill it out before your next meeting. At the next meeting, your group will spend time going over the evaluation and talking about everyone's answers. That discussion will take the place of one in-depth, so you'll only focus on one Stephen Minister's caring relationship during that meeting. Once the evaluation is complete, your supervision group facilitator will identify the Stephen Ministers who will receive in-depth supervision during the next session and pass out any documents that the group members need. Finally, the supervision group facilitator ends with prayer, typically asking a group member to lead the prayer. Depending on the group, you might have a rotation of who does the prayer, or you might have a group member volunteer. That wraps up our look at the steps of the supervision process. You can see just how helpful this process will be for you as Stephen ministers, as well as your care receivers. Focus note 15 on page 422 contains what several Stephen ministers have said about what supervision has meant to them and how it will help you. Take a moment to read focus note 15. I like the one that says supervision is your safety net. It provides guidance and affirmation and enables you to excel in your caregiving relationships. You have a team behind you to share your own and help you avoid pitfalls. I think all of us need some encouragement and support, and knowing that you got it on a monthly basis, it really strengthens your ability to move through if you have a difficult day or you have a day that things just don't seem to be as good as you want them to be. You know that you can take concerns to your Stephen group.
My favorite word is, it's a great blessing.
It is a great blessing.
It's a great, it really is.
So keep
You're not on an island.
It keeps you responsible and to know that as you've taken this on, that you have to be there for them. I mean, you know, because if you weren't responsible, you think, well, I don't have to go this way.
Yeah. It does. It makes you feel the responsibility that you have agreed to do this and you've got to be there for it. I mean, you know, to take somebody on, accept the responsibility of walking along beside them to get this through this situation, and then just gradually get to where you're not there every week, you're not as dependable, or you're not listening as well. It's really doing them more harm than good than not agreeing to do it at all. So, and it's easy when you do something for a very long time to let it become more ho-hum or become more of not as much of a priority. And it helps to have that accountability once a month. And it does boost you back up again. So you're ready to go on.
It reinforces you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know,
I get a blessing.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing too.
Any questions? We're doing good here. We can do the care receivers, we can close this out like a regular session like we would before we start the second one. Bob?
We don't need to
go
do
for
the
it.
colors.
Whatever y'all want to do. That's the end of my section of it, so I'll let y'all do what you want to with yours.
We'll have more time.
Be real supportive of you.
We'll have more time this afternoon, so let's just wait and do the compass for the whole day.
Okay.
And as far as looking ahead.
We know what's ahead.
We
know what it is.
We're gonna do some more of what we've done this morning.
This is part one, and we're gonna do part two.
We're gonna, and so we got about 20 minutes before lunch, so if you want to stretch, walk, work up an appetite, whatever, it's 12 o'clock, we need to go to.
You're right. I gotta finish this.